Dear respected teacher, dear noble community, dear family. Today is August 14th, year 2017, and we are in Upper Hamlet in our retreat, Wake Up Earth retreat. Wonderful retreat. It's so inspiring to see so many young people gathering, practicing to wake up. Even though we're a little sleepy sometimes, it's okay. Sometimes it's nice to lay on the lawn, and for some of my brothers and sisters, it's very new for us to have people doing yoga everywhere. You know, it's not just in here, but everywhere. It's just seeing the people are on the path. They're discovering ways to take care of their body and their mind. And this is what a wonderful way to be in the world. I feel very lucky to be part of this movement, this wake-up movement. I know many of us came and we didn't expect so many people. This is my first wake-up retreat. I just feel so energized to see young people stepping onto the path. I think that somehow that's a kind of, it nourishes something. I don't know if it's hope, but it gives us kind of like real conviction. It's like, all right, there are other people doing this. So it gives me a lot of energy. My brothers and sisters, we cannot stop but keep talking about it. It's like, God, did you see that? You know, the other day, yesterday, you know, when the bell chimed for dinner or lunch or something, and everyone in the tea area went. I mean, we never experienced that before. Like that. Usually, and there's like a few still talking, but it was like, and we were like. I mean, usually the lay friends are the ones that are going, "What happened?" You know, but here the monks were like. I say, is that for real? Wow. So a lot of that is happening during this retreat. The monks and nuns were going like, wow. They're really getting down into the practice. And it's very inspiring. And this, I wish everyone in the world can like have a little peek during this week to see what young people are doing. If everyone could just see and experience what's happening in the circle sharing, in the forest, on the lawn, everyone just see and understand what we want for our future, I think that would be very healing and inspiring too. So I just wanted to express my gratitude to everyone here putting their whole heart into the practice. Today I've been tasked to share about deepening our practice, or how to go deep into our practice. It's kind of a challenge because some of you just are beginning to practice and we want to go deeper. And that's always we do want to touch something, a deeper healing, a deeper insight, something that has more substance, something like that. There's an idea like that. My brothers and sisters have so far shared a lot about love, about happiness, about taking care of ourselves. Brother Paphu shared, and Sister Hai Ngim yesterday shared about taking care of our feelings and our emotion, and sharing her personal experience of transforming that and practicing with that. And today I share about my experience of how I got into the path and how slowly, year by year, I was able to touch something deeper, a deeper happiness, a deeper peace. In our life, we have two aspects. Usually, a kind of like a very ordinary concern, kind of like a daily concern. Enough to eat, warm enough. Have enough clothes. How do I look? My hair okay? My tooth ache? I have some pain here, some pain there. That's pretty normal, right? My relationships, kind of like, do I have enough friends? Am I lonely on Friday nights? What are my weekends like? I need to fill my weekend with more activities so I don't feel like a loser. These are, I'm sharing about myself, so in the monastery, there's not much to do on Saturday and Sunday. Have enough. These are, as young people, these are our concerns. We want our life to have meaning and so on. And this is we call there's a line that goes across like this. It's like daily stuff. Our dramas, the new movie coming out, or what's next, or how is my career? These kind of, how's my career doing? Or maybe I need to take some extra to, so they have more respect for me in my workplace. These are kind of, that's life. There's another a kind of vertical line. It's just a representation. Called the spiritual dimension. We call it ultimate concern. And that, for me as a young person, coming in contact with our teacher and the meditation practice, I always knew. I took philosophy class, I took all these alternative class, in college, just to explore, I knew that there's something, more than just the daily stuff. This spiritual dimension is we're concerned with deeper questions. What is true love? What is true freedom? What is a meaningful life? Truly a meaningful life. A fulfilled life. What is that? And of course, what's going to happen when we die? Are we going to die? Children this summer, they ask like ultimate concern questions. Who made the world? What happens when I die? And who made the world? They ask these questions. Like, wow. I don't know. The parents planted it there. For me, also, an ultimate concern is: is there another way to be than just, angry and frustrated and resentful? That was my first question that came in. It was like, God, there's got to be a different way to look at this, I was quite very, what do you call it, not angry, but, like angry, but it's internal, yeah? Like when I get angry once a year when I was young, and when I get angry, the whole house and the neighborhood kind of knows. So it's a kind of very in America they call someone with a chip on their shoulder. I look very nice and I'm very proper, very behaved, but it's very easy to be kind of get irritated with things. And that was, that was related to my family, not accepting my family, my father, and so on, these stories that we have. And meditation helped me to see, wow, is there another way to be? And that was my first question to come into contact with dealing with deeper issues. Is there another way to look at this? These things, these questions, as a young person, helped me begin to investigate and to learn more about how my mind works, how my feelings work, my perceptions. Sister Haingim shared with you the 5 ways that we interact with the world, with our bodies, with our feelings, the way we perceive things, and the ideas we hold in our head. And those things affect us. And so my initial question was like, wow, like, how does this work? And that, I changed it, and more my interest turned away from architecture and became more and more interested. It's like, wow, very interesting. So I begin to see, and I looked at news and newspaper very differently. And so you kind of like get a different way of looking at the world and how it operates. Usually I'm in it. I was in it. I was concerned with, strangely, like a retirement plan, making sure I have enough money, security before, this is a 23-year-old worrying about retirement. If they have enough money. And worrying about my career, fame, and how many want to become famous? Yes? I wanted to become a famous architect. I'm gonna change the world and have a book written about me, famous. I didn't want to become like rich. How many of you want to become like millionaire? Like billionaire? Yeah? Because there's an idea, you have enough money, then you can, do what you want. We had friends like that. They had some Taiwanese friends who were very, wow. Their mission was to become the wealthiest person. That's pretty. So these are things as a young person that went through my mind. And when I touched the practice, it touched something deeper. And this is a more spiritual dimension, where we look at the happiness and our freedom, our peace, more differently. Like those things now become a concern. How to be more peaceful, more restful, more at ease. So these things now, most of you come here, I think in the last 3 or 4 days, you're starting to touch that. And this is scary, actually. I remember crying sometime because it's confusing, and kind of scary. The spiritual dimension, you come up with places that are a little bit not really sure and really kind of scary, kind of dark, because you don't want to go there. And this is, I remember feeling that. I had dreams of like I was a tree and things were sprouting out of my skin and it was painful. I remember having these, I wake up and I would be in sweat. So it's a kind of a process as we go deeper. Unfortunately, there is some pain, some suffering, because that's the process. And so that's the reality of it. What you're experiencing is painful, because it's something wanting to wake up, break out of what we're used to, the defenses and things that we built up. So going deeper, there involves some, at least my journey, some pain, some kind of like waking up to like, I can't blame anybody. That was kind of scary. It's like, I can't blame anyone. That is a tough one for me. I can't blame the government. I can't blame my friends. I can't blame my society. I can't blame my father, my mother. And there's a part of me that resists that. It's like, yeah. And I cannot blame myself. And see, so it's scary. So you get very confused. It's like, In reflection on my path to go deeper, I've identified 3 things that has helped me to look at. And one is I had wounds. Okay, that's something we have to be to wake up to. Each one of us have, in meditation we call it knots sometimes, a kind of wound. So I identified 3 things in my journey on the spiritual path that helped me. First is our wounds. Last week I had a cut on my finger, and I get injured, and I like watching what happens. So I don't like to put Band-Aid on it. I sometimes only if it's necessary, just to hold the skin together. But I'll tell you something. I use holy water. I don't know if you know what that is, but it comes from your body. And I've been experimenting with it, and it is incredible what happens. There's something with it being your own fluid that actually the womb, if you can hold it together, it's amazing. You don't need medicine. Of course, don't take that seriously. I don't want to be responsible for that. But this is about a week, and it's just beautiful to watch your body heal. I also have a wound on my body. It's been more than 2 years. No, about 2 years actually. And it has not healed. And every time there's a storm or something weird in the air, it itches. And it's like, I'm aware of it when I move around. So there's a wound that it's not even healed yet, and it's already 2 years. And I love the wound because it reminds me that it's okay. I mean, it's just like itch, it's a little painful, but it reminds me that I can still live with it. I don't need to have it completely healed. The doctors say that it's the part of the body that doesn't have enough blood vessel, so it takes longer. She didn't tell me how long it takes, but It's been 2 years, huh? So in my body now, there's some wounds. I used to have an internal wound too. Also, an internal, what do you call it? When you this thing and it makes a crack, it's a kind of pain. It's the two muscles that didn't heal right when I got injured. And through yoga, qigong, and some movement, I was able to, because I learned from the doctor that if you hit it hard, it gets hurt again, and then you heal it correctly. So it's strange, huh? There's a method where you get wounded and you don't heal right, you have to wound it again. And then you heal it right. Please take this with the disclaimer. I don't want to be responsible for any of your conditions. I'm sharing my own experience with dealing with wounds. Huh? So in our body, there is a powerful energy, the energy of life that wants to live and flourish. And it will do everything to heal us. I have been to India, to Bhutan, to parts of the world where there's no chiropractor. There's no surgeon. There's nobody to give you a new leg, plastic. People there, they crawl around. People there walk with one leg, and their spine is, bent like a tree. And they can smile. And so some of us, we maybe have not seen these things, but some of us who have been to the different countries, the southern nations or the third world country, I think you know what I'm talking about. There's a way that the body is incredible. When I look at that, I am inspired, and I feel very grateful for someone with their spine kind of like an S, and they walk strange, but they smile. So the whole idea of wounds, we have to look at more deeply. And so that's just the body. And the same thing with our psyche, with our mind. We've lost our trust, our faith in our own ability to heal the kind of wounds psychologically. We've all been hurt somehow growing up, whether it was in the family or outside the family. And that's first noble truth. There is suffering. And you've come here and you are beginning to accept that statement. There is suffering. It's very different from all is suffering. The Buddha never said, everything is suffering. He said, there is suffering. I mean, particularly, specifically, but it's not everything. That's wonderful, isn't it? There's only one wound on your body, but it is not your whole entire body, right? I'm still walking around, it still itches. And so this is the first thing that helped me to be more accepting, more patient, more kind. So our wounds are there, and we practice to have more faith that the wound can heal. And when there's different methods, there's mindfulness is the practice you're learning here is an energy that heals. When I'm mindful that I have an injury here, I don't use this when I wash my dishes. I'm mindful that this doesn't want to go into that water. And naturally, because it's kind of painful. So mindfulness knows, don't go there. Don't think like that. Don't do that again. So mentally it's the same. Bringing mindfulness, I'm feeling sad, but I don't need to, in the Buddhist practice we call shoot the second arrow. We have one wound, it's just, but most of us, we take another arrow and we shoot right into the same spot. It's called the second arrow. So there's a wound, but we don't need to have the second arrow. And this is very important, because there is suffering, that is the reality of things. We interact with the world, and the world is not perfect. In the sense of there are people who are still dealing with things, and they don't have another way. But we don't have to make it worse by bringing more mental energy into it. I don't know what that is, but I think you know what your second arrow is. Each one of us, we have a second arrow. Mine was when I was growing up, I came back from college. When I first recognized the second arrow for me was, God, my father. It starts with my father, like that. I had that a lot. I blame everything, and it's always, oh, my father. And it has many ... after. That was the second arrow, you see? And I did that a lot. And what has happened? The wound doesn't heal. You keep picking at it. So that's the second arrow. Stop picking at it. Another way of handling wounds is a kind of environment. Coming and living in Plum Village, going to a retreat, we're able to have a clean, healthy, things don't pick at it. So it's like the womb. You provide healing, clean environment for the womb. You don't need to do anything. And it will naturally find its healing. Some of us don't believe that. We need to do this, do that, get some medication, But the mind, for instance, this is an example of how I used to love eating Snickers bar. You don't know if you have that here in Europe, but I used to eat that down like it was, I didn't care about sugar. Somehow I was a thin person. But I used to love driving and just, they're like small little one. And, it's good. It's sugar. But, I knew people would say, oh, don't eat so much sugar, all these things. But your habit is your habit, But just coming here, living in the monastery, and just, the amount of sugar you get is on the table in the morning, and it's called jam, and, that the thing in the jar. That's where you can get sugar. But slowly, and the brothers, they don't like Snicker, and slowly, more and more, some of them. I'll just share with you now, when I go to America or someone offers me a candy, wow, and I eat it, it's, wow, how can you eat such a sweet thing, You see, I didn't even practice to like, oh, Snickers are bad for me. I don't need to do anything. It's just naturally, because you're away from it, you have fruits to eat, you have other things to eat. It's same thing with drinking a soda. In America, all I drank was soda. I never drink water like by itself. You always drink it and in ice. And now, when I drink something with a lot of ice, it's like, wow. And drinking Coke, once in a while I do it just to remind myself how much, things have changed. But have you ever drank, I mean, I don't know, you know what I mean? You drink Coke now, it's like, wow, it's intense. Sometimes I had to mix a little bubble gas water to drink it. So that I'm just sharing with the environment. And that's the same with our healing. And that's something, having environment, having people. And I think some of you are feeling that in this moment, in this last few days. Is that, wow, I have a break from my anger, my irritation, my buttons. So these are the wounds. So some of us have that. So we build a kind of trust, of faith. I become to... faith here is not like faith in someone will save you. And faith is that the body can heal. I see it physically, and I've experienced it as certain healings with my father, with my mother, with my society, with people that I don't understand. So the way those wounds, I've experienced it, actually don't arise anymore. In Buddhism, they talk about the ash, the fire you can't light anymore from it. It's cooled down beyond rekindling. The ash is cool. You stick your hand in, you cannot make more fire. So it's a kind of settling, no more. So that kind of healing is possible. And I think we've all experienced it to some extent, small or great. And this has helped me have more faith. It's like now, if you learn how to make tofu or tempeh, and you've made it from the beans to the tofu, and I ask you, do you know how to make tofu? Yes, you have confidence, you have faith, you have trust that you give me the bean, I will make you tofu. And so if you ask me now, do you know how to heal your wounds? And I can say, yes, I know what to do. Come on, womb. I have a trust. Of course, there are some wounds that are big and some that are easy to heal. The 2-year-old wounds, I have some that are like 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. These wounds take more time. And so, like a tree with fruits, they ripen differently. Same thing with our wounds. So we don't need to be completely healed. We just take more patient, more time. And don't be too demanding on that healing process. Some wounds are deeper, ancestral, primal. These are things very, like, I think there's like I've identified, there's some that my ancestor have Chinese ancestor, and there's a kind of like feeling a lack. There's always making sure, and it's very hoarding. I know it's not a wound, but it is something I recognize in my mind, and it's something, sometimes it causes difficulties. So these are things that happen in us. Another aspect that helped me in my practice to deepen is to look at my habits. So we have wounds, and then we have habits. Let us take a moment to breathe before we move on to our habits. We'll listen to the sound of the bell. Before I go on, I just share with you, yesterday Sister Haim, she shared the 5 aggregates, a way of looking at ourselves, our body, our feelings, our perception, our mental formation, and our consciousness. Consciousness is a way of looking. This could be divided into body and mind. Our feelings, our perception, our mental formation, they happen in our mind. Some of you are familiar with this. Usually our teacher draws a representation of our mind. And it has 2 levels. One is called our mind consciousness, and one is our store consciousness. And I think our brothers and sisters have shared that in our mind, in our consciousness, we have all the seeds. Sister Haingi mentioned yesterday, all those seeds are there. Seeds of anger, seeds of compassion, seeds of acceptance, seeds of discrimination. They are all in here, down. It's a wonderful way to look at the world, to see that people have these seeds, and they don't know how to do it, so it arises. Like right now, you're not angry. You feel very calm, peaceful. These kind of energies are happening. Your mind is clear, calm. But I can say something or do something, and your seed of sadness can come up into your mind conscious. And then a tear will come. Or I can say something about your hair, and you get angry. It's like, he shouldn't put me on the spot like that. What kind of monk is he? So you're fine now, but and we have 5 sense doors: eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and body. Eyes, ears, nose, tongue, and our body. And then, of course, the 6th one is our mind. So I just share with you briefly, quickly, how this has helped me be more compassionate, more open, more kind towards first my father, then others, even presidences, and it's like, wow. You see, you begin to see people as energies. These seeds are also kind of like energies. Depending on how they grew up, the environment they grew up, they have certain habits, yeah? And depending on how we grew up, we have certain wounds in our mind, right? And sometimes that manifests and it's stored in our body. So our wounds happen, our interaction as we grow up, and sometimes it's stored in our body. And what we call it, the mind and the body go together. Sometimes it is stored specifically somewhere, even in an organ sometimes people are discovering, or in the belly more, the shoulder and the neck. Some people store it right between their eyes, like this, yeah? There's people who store their energy here. And in terms of habits, it helped me because we are habitual animals, and you have to accept that. And you have to be aware of that, so you have to wake up to that fact. You have to, you think you're free, you are a habit. You're a walking bag of habit. I'm serious. I mean, you think you're free, okay? 9 to 5, wake up, And so you have to accept that first. Don't be angry about it or like, man, I'm not free. No, just say, yeah, I have certain habits. So take it lightly. Don't take it like philosophically. Oh, I'm not free. But that's one thing you gotta first accept. And it was hard for me to accept that. I'm very proud. I'm very, come on, I'm an artist. I got my freedom, right? I'm alternative, right? I dress differently. I don't have a short haircut. So, anyway, I'm talking about myself, so don't think I'm. So these habits, once you accept, then you slowly wake up and you see your habits, the way you do things, the way I close the door. See, so mindfulness helps us begin to see, like, wow, what are my habits? And what are its effect? What does it do to me? You see the path of deepening? It's fun too. It doesn't have to be serious, okay? You see habits? Look today, walk around and look with the eyes of habits. Especially around the tea area. Around the coffee machine. I heard there's a monk that refuses. Well, anyways, anyway. Transforming habits requires diligence. So this has faith. This diligence has 4 aspects. For diligence. Diligence here is not being strict, being kind of like on time. It's not the same diligence we're talking about. It's more mental. When a positive habit, a positive energy arises, you recognize with mindfulness, you and bask in it. You enjoy it, and it's like a flower. You take a few more breaths. It's those qualities. So in the practice, we try to, we talk a lot about non-discrimination, but we have to be careful because in the practice, we also need to be discriminative, to be selective, to know what is good for you and what is not good for you. So don't think that, non-judgmental, just anything goes. That's how your little person inside, works. So when it rises, recognize, take a few breaths, and gladden in it. You gladden your mind. You enjoy it. There's certain things you do that makes you feel more at ease, more peaceful, more kind, more open. Those things, you water that more. So in the practice, sometimes a practitioner is seen like a gardener. A gardener accepts all the plants, of course, indiscriminately, but there are certain flowers actually the gardener cultivates more, right? And there's certain plants that are not helpful for the other. It is evasive, it takes over, and it dominates. Those are the ways we have to be really clear about. In our practice, diligence, got to know what is healthy for me, what is good for me, what is kind, considering where I'm at. That means I share that because sometimes I was very hard on myself. I was too much. I kind of misunderstood a little bit. I tried to be too mindful, and it was not right. So just be careful about this practice. So recognize when it's And seeds that are not that are wholesome for you, but you've like delayed, or you take for granted now, you don't do anymore. It's like, oh, I don't have time for that. You have to recognize that and nurture it, bring it up. You're a kind person. Put yourself in situations so that the habits come up more. The way you brush your teeth in the morning is not so helpful. It makes you rush. The way you put on clothes, mindful. Why am I rushing? Slow it down. So these, when you recognize a negative, a kind of habit that is not helpful for your day, don't do it. In the evening, you have certain habits with the internet. Don't turn it on in the evening. Very, very smart, but requires a lot of concentration. That's a kind of energy. So in the practice, the 3 energies you see up there in our logo is mindfulness, concentration, and insight. Those are the 3 spiritual energy you need to cultivate to be on the spiritual path. The mindfulness energy you are practicing here, eating, walking, moving, sitting, breathing, stopping, is an energy, and the more you practice, the more concentration you have. And this concentration will help you to be diligent with your habit. You cannot mess with your habit. Your habit is so strong. Some of it is animal. Some of it is primal. Yeah? And the thinking mind is very tricky. It will trick you. I get tricked a lot by myself. The habits, I won't go into that. But there are certain habits that are not helpful. Keep it down there. Don't go there. And so this is something as practitioner we need to be aware of. You have to start identifying that. What are certain habits that are helpful for us? There are wholesome habits and there are not so wholesome habits. How we eat here is training to have a new habit, right? Most of us, and you feel a certain way, and it's not helpful. And you've been trained to eat like that. And that's just eating, walking, breathing, brushing, using the toilet, putting on your clothes, buttoning up. Identify how you put your shoes. Many kind of physical bodily habits. And then, of course, there's the mental habit. And the third one, we talk about deepening the practice. This one is to use a non-Buddhist term, is a killer. Our views. This is, the 3 things very classic. Tham Sân Si is what greed, hate, and ignorance. I mean, that's like you go to any Buddhist temple, it's like, that's all you hear about. And you wonder, it's like, God, just 3? Greed, craving, that stuff. And then there's hate, aversion, push away. And then this one, kind of view, kind of like not seeing things. And views are really, we have views about things. And that there distorts a lot that happens on our mind. There's an energy in us, it's kind of primal for us to it's a kind of a life force and vitality that wants to live. It wants to, because of that energy, we're very easy to create a sense of self. We want to survive. We want to build that, and that's made me suffer a lot. Identity is a kind of more worldly term, but in the spirit tradition, a kind of a self. On this level, the worldly level, it's identity, who I am, my name, my culture. But on an even more spiritual level, there's a kind of fear of like not being, this self. And this view is the root of a lot of our difficulty. We see the other person and we think they're different. We see our father and we think they're different. And we don't see the connection that we have with everything. Try to find something in the world that exists solely, separately, on its own. That is an ultimate question. Make it your PhD. Seriously, propose it. I don't know if they're going to accept it, but my research will try to find something that is wholly separate from everything else. Try to find even the light or your plate. Look at your plate. Or even the fork. Ah, it's metal. But look at it. Where does it come from? See, the way of living deeply is a kind of having time. So when we look at things, it's a little bit more beyond it. Yeah? Deeply means don't be caught by it. Including your idea about yourself. The worldly view about yourself, I'm tall, I'm short, I'm fat. People don't like me. I'm such an easygoing person. I have so many friends. I'm a politically aware person. I'm modern, I'm, whatever is, I grew up with that. It's crazy. Always going around protecting that, or when someone touches it. So we have views about ourselves. Just like our habits, just like our wounds, you need to know your views about yourself. If you want to touch some kind of deeper peace, deeper happiness, a deeper state of being, you need to know these views and where they come from. How did I get these views? I mean, you look at babies and kids, they run around. You ask them for a view. Like, what do you think about the state of the world now? I mean, you can say they don't know yet, but it is a view. And this view, it embraces all of this. Depending on what you think our purpose is on this planet for these so many number of years, 70, 80 years, 90, what do you think the purpose of life is? So that will color everything, right? So these kind of things, we need time to look. There's a part of us here that likes to build our identity, build ourselves. And it sometimes blocks, doesn't allow, it represses. It blocks things from flowing and healing. And there's that tendency. It's kind of scary. I notice that in myself. There's a part, there's certain suffering that I recognize in myself that I don't go there yet, and it's okay. It's like my womb, and that's what I've come to learn to more accept. That we don't need to have complete healing or complete, there isn't an ideal, absolute, okay, I will be cured and my back will be straight and I'll never have an ache again. And, we have a kind of like idealized self. And that, for me, I'm learning more and more to let go of that. That there doesn't have to have complete healing, and you don't need to have complete liberation. How about that? There's an idea, Buddhism is you have to be completely, fully enlightened and fully liberated. Yes, we do want to be enlightened, but the idea of a kind of a purity, a kind of state where there's no more that, is a kind of suffering. And that for me is helped me to become more gentle with myself. There's no absolute, there's no idealized state that you're moving towards. Doesn't mean that healing doesn't happen and you cannot heal. But what I'm sharing is remove that idealized state. The future. Some of us, we think about the future, what that will be like. And we have an idea, right? And we think we're going to get to there. That's that view can cause a lot of difficulty. Can make us very unrestful and not trusting in the present moment. The way I like to look at the future is that I bring home a plant. And the way I take care of it, its future would depend on me. See, so the future is based on the present moment. So if you learn ways to take care of your feelings, take care of your emotion, take care of your habits, your wounds, take care of how you look and view the world, naturally, the future will be built on that. That is on the spiritual. That informs our life and makes it meaningful. This side, the kind of daily concern, just do what you need to do. Be an astrophysicist, be an astronaut, be a caretaker, be an environmentalist, be a bus driver or a cashier, a waiter. Doesn't matter. If you are informed with a spiritual dimension, anything you do can help the world. The way you greet someone can really make a difference. You see, so again, don't let this kind of, there's a projection in our society that we need to be successful, we need to have salary, we need to have a bank account, we need to have these things. They work. I mean, that's how things work. But don't let it become your ultimate concern. That is the spiritual path. So continue what we need to do. Go to study, go to university, but your eyes change, huh? You look at people differently. Train yourself a habit of looking at the world not as evil, good, bad, but like people are skillful, not skillful, depending on their seeds. You see? That brings more kindness in your heart and your viewpoint. Many of us, we have seeds from our family, from our ancestor, and they've given it to us like that. That is the collective, our culture. So the quality of our life is like that. Don't compare it with someone else, because their quality of their seeds are a little different. It's like when the bell is invited and everyone stops. Everyone is enjoying something, some level. Some are enjoying it deeper, and some of them are like little going like, "What is going on?" Or like, "This is weird," or like, "This is nice," or "This is," or they blank out. Or someone have an insight in that moment. So it depends on our seeds. You see, the quality of our experience depends on how we are taking care of these, of ourselves. So when we deepen the practice, we must remember there's two lines, okay? That helped me a lot. There's the daily stuff. And you gotta write, you might make a homework out of it. Write your daily stuff. Do I have enough clothes? Am I up to fashion? Am I keeping up with things? Write them all. These things are your concern, and know that they are. Your job, your salary, your status with everyone else in your company. And then write down your ultimate concern. Those things, if you're interested, it's not like a requirement. And in spiritual practice, briefly, just remember 4 things that we, in terms we say deeper, means are you steady? Are you stable and solid? That's the mountain, okay? Those 4 qualities are very easy to remember. So think of it as, are you solid? So when we talk about depth, it also means, are you solid, stable, steady? That's the mountain in the song, okay? Next one, are you fresh? Are you joyful? Are you flourishing? See the flower? These are what makes life. So that's the flower element. Remember that. So these practices, what you're learning here to take care of our wounds, training new habits, opening and releasing our views to open up, and changing views so that it helps us be more fresh, more solid. Third is more clarity. We see things more in depth. You see, and you cannot have that if you don't have stability, solidity, and freshness. So you need to take care of yourself. So the spiritual path requires that. So to become, have deep depth in your life, to have meaning, we also need the other elements. And of course, last, the one for clarity to remember is a still lake. Our teacher is like, has filtered it into 4 simple things to remember. Mountain, flower, still lake. The last is space. Spaciousness. It's a kind of freedom. That is one of the ultimate. Are you free? Look around. Look around and see who is free. The idea of being free, having free will, is not an illusion. There are people who are more free from their habits, free enough from their wounds, free enough to live with their wounds. I have a wound, 2 years, okay, no problem. I'm not going to the doctor. I trust. So there's a kind of freedom also in terms of spiritual path. Ask yourself these questions. Do I have? So do what you need to do. Come to retreat, create a personal practice. Do what you need. Go take yoga, do things that will help you develop these 4 qualities. And these 4 qualities will help heal, will help create more wholesome habits, and you'll have a different way of looking at your life. No, the meaning comes from that. So meaning is not in the books. It is trained. Meaning is not someone telling you what life is. Meaning is what you make of it, of your life. So it's like the gardener again. You bring a flower home, and your future depends on how you take care of your present. And Sister Hangim shared, let's have a revolution. So you are now revolutionary, okay? And we don't need to protest. We can walk differently, eat differently, behave differently, more awakened, with more freedom. And this is what the world needs. The wake-up movement, our teachers share, is to create a more healthy and compassionate society. That is, young people need to start to go, not against, but find another way of living, another way of looking at things. Reprioritize what society has put up there. You know, fame, wealth, sex, stimulation. Reprioritize. Put those things down. Worldly concern. This is what is happening. There's a battle happening, not just in the world in terms of war, but there's a battle happening right now for your mind, for your attention. With the media, with the internet, you are being fed and sucked. Your attention, your views are not yours. They're putting it in your head. So to have a revolution means you stop and re-look at what you're being fed and find that again. So the wake-up movement is not just like, is for me very inspiring. We're creating a new way of looking at society, how we should live, less by ourselves and more as a collective, and not judging each other for the skin, the color, ethnicity, background, or religious creed and so on. But we begin to see from our shared wounds, shared suffering, that we are in it together, and the way out is together. So thank you for listening, and we hope you continue to have a wonderful practice day.